Okay guys, this is Team Skittles again. We're bringing you to the new version of our Observer. I did some small tweaks to make the deck a little bit faster and more consistent. So, the Observer. Its Judgment costs you 14. But then for each card you have removed, the Judgment will cost you 1 less. So the faster you get cards removed, the sooner and easier it is to summon this guy for mana cost. So we're going to activate his Judgment and see what he says on the other side. So with this J ruler, he is a wizard, 1,000. Pretty standard for most rulers. So first of all, when this guy enters, you search a card called Blazing Metropolis of the Vassal. This searches it from your deck and adds it to your hand. It does not play it like any of the new cards like Gillis, which automatically plays the addition. It gets added to your hand, which is kind of the only downside most people see. But I'll explain this card when we get back to it in the deck, obviously, so that way I can finish off my ruler. The Resonators you control can gain Swiftness, Target Attack, and First Strike once this guy's on board. So all Resonators gain this. And then your God's Art. You tap 2 fire with 2 of any color. This card deals 100 damage to all J Resonators your opponent controls for each card in your removed area. Then you may put any number of cards from your removed area into your graveyard, which is why the field card comes in effect, because it gives all your fire spells Reanimate. So we're going to put this guy back onto his other side and observe what we have in the deck. Just so you guys know, this is a very spell-heavy deck, because we're playing Burn/Swiftness. So, just because you guys already seen it, I'm going to show you Blazing Metropolis. So essentially, this guy, no matter what, you play it by turn 4 or after you search it. This makes it so any card that goes to your graveyard, first of all, automatically gets removed. There's no choice in this matter. Then any fire spells also in your graveyard gain Reanimate. So that allows you to cast them all in additional time, or cast them from the graveyard the once, and then they get removed from the game. But then, if you use your God's Art, you can return them all back, then keep using them. So that's why this card's very important with your ruler. So then we play for the Orb of Disaster of the Iris's Glass. So when this card enters the field, you remove the top card of your deck. So there's one of your single removals. No cost though. So that's the advantage of this card. You can also tap 2 Firestones. Then banish this card to remove a card to target up to 2 cards in your removed area, because we play the Observer. If it wasn't the Observer, you can only target 1. And add it back to your hand. So this is a good way to get those cards that you removed from the game that you want back. Then we play 4 Generic Genevas. Good draw card for fire, pretty standard. Tap, banish Resonator, draw 2 cards, discard a card. So this allows you to also load your grave for Blazing Metropolis if you got spells you don't want quite in your hand right now, which you'll see for those later. And you can also tap a fire and tap her to give him another Resonator 4/4. That can come in handy if you need to bump something up. We also play 4 Keeper of the Present. So this card looks like Weenie. She's a 1-drop, 1/1. And when this card enters, you banish a card from your hand, then draw a card. Well, you move a card from your hand, and then draw a card. So this is another 1-drop removal. And where it's one of the Goddess cards that goes with the deck, it has a removed area effect. So as long as you have 10 cards in your removed area, this card gains 9/9 with First Strike. So this card, if you have 10 cards in your removed area, which would be later game obviously, you can drop it for a 1/10/10 with First Strike. So that becomes very massive and very easily a beat stick. Especially where your ruler can give it Swiftness when you play it. So then we're playing our 1-drop spells. 4 Thunders, pretty standard. Hit Resonators for 5 or hit your opponent for 5. So essentially, with these cards, when you play each one once and you just target your opponent, that's 2,000 life, which is half their life. But with the Reanimate, you can essentially just kill your opponent with Thunder, or just hit a bunch of Resonators for 5. Obviously, good combination. Then we play 3 of Torching of the Timeline. So with this card, for each card in your removed area, you can hit a Resonator for 100 damage. So if you have 13 cards in your removed area, you can hit a card for 1,300 damage. This card's good late game and also good early game, because it can get rid of those weenies on field because of the quick cast. Very good card, but only need 3 of it. because you want to obviously wait till you have your cards in the removed area. So then we play two of this card. You can play more, but with the Regalia, it adds cards back to your hand, so I feel like you only need 2. It's a 1-drop. You can add 1 card in your remove area back to your hand. That's all it does. It's a spell chant, and plus with the Reanimate ability, you can activate it again from the graveyard. So with the Regalia and that, you can essentially have 8 ways to add cards back to your hand. You can always add in more if you feel like it's needed, but I do not, because I've played the deck for a few times. Then we play this guy. He's a 2-drop, Vela Severe Dragon. He's a 2-drop with flying 5/5. When this guy enters the field, the top 2 cards of your deck get removed. And then also when he attacks, not blocks, he removes the top 2 cards of your deck. So, essentially this guy is a turn 2 drop, which can consistently ram your removed area, which will allow you to get your Observer out faster. So essentially, this guy got added in. We took out the Time Traveler's Magician, which is a 1-drop, tap to remove a card and hit a card for 2, because I found it was too slow. And then we play another 2-drop with Swiftness. Lancelot. Everybody knows what Lancelot does. He's a 2-drop 6/6 with Swiftness. He's got to attack this turn. And if he has 1,000 attack or more, he can hit an additional Resonator for 700 damage. So you can start sacking off shit. Or you can tap a Firestone to give him an extra 100 attack. So that way you can get in more damage or try to get to his effect by tapping more stones. Then we play 3 Keeper of the Futures. I only play 3 now because I play 4 with the other one, which essentially does the same thing. Just this works out a little bit better with the J-Ruler. When this card enters the field, you remove the top 2 cards of your deck, then the mana cost of those cards hit a Resonator times 100. So essentially, if you remove a 1/1, you can hit a Resonator for 200 damage. And then as long as you have 10 cards in removed area, like the 1-drop, this card gains 3/3 with Swiftness. So this becomes a 2-drop, 8/8 with Swiftness, and removes cards to be able to hit Resonators for additional damage. Then we play 3 of the most beautiful Athena. Obviously the full art's better, but Athena is kind of needed for most fire decks now. This is the turn 3 Swiftness, which most people play over Snow White, because whenever you are dealt damage, this card gains a counter, and for each counter she gets, she gains 100 and 100. So as soon as you take, like, say somebody hits you with Thunder and this card's on board, you gain 2 counters, so she becomes a 9/9 with Swiftness now. And then you can also tap a Firestone to burn your opponent. So if somebody's playing something like Vlad, where they can tap 2 stones to burn you for 2 and they gain 2, you can fight back with this burn damage. Obviously. Then we play our last 3-drop, which is Keeper of the Past. Move 2 cards from your graveyard. The mana cost of those cards times 200 gets burned to a Resonator. This is the only removal card that is not mandatory, because you may remove up to 2 cards. So you can choose how many you want to remove. So if you have a field card in there and you just want to remove the field card, do a 100, you don't have to get rid of another one. And then also, when you have 10 cards in removed area, this card gains 3/3 with and obviously it becomes 11/11. So then, we're going to move on to our Magic Stone deck. With this, we play mostly just basic Firestones. You can play Low Red's Pure Stones or any other special stones that you like. But then the main stone, which you kind of have to play 4 of in this deck, is the one that goes nicely with the Ruler, which is the Disaster Memoria. If your J-Ruler's the Observer, this card does not come in rested. If you're playing this in a deck that's not the Observer, it comes in rested. But this produces fire, or you can tap it to remove the top card of your deck. So it's an extra removal Magic Stone if you don't want to play anything, but you just want to get those cards removed. So other than that, this is pretty much mono red for the Observer. Any comments or likes about the video or any suggestions you might have, post them below. Other than that, have a good day, guys. Like I said, it's Team Skittles, and have some fun.